Today we are going to create the deployment pipeline. But before going to do that, we need to create three different workspaces. Now, as I discussed last week, we can create the workspaces from either clicking over here or you can create it from here. Okay, let us create the workspaces. First, I'll creating the day workspace and I'll be setting it as a Power BI Pro. Now, I will create the second workspace. Once this workspace is ready, I'll be going back to the home and I'll be creating the second workspace. This time we will create a different capacity. So we'll create the test one and we'll create the Power BI Premium per user. I'll click apply. It will create second workspace. Now we need to create the last one, which is the prod. This time I'll be creating skill is underscore prod. And for the workspace type, I'll be selecting it as a fabric trial. Now, once the three workspaces are ready, let us see how we can create the deployment pipeline. You have to click over here on the three dots and click on the deployment pipeline. Now, you need to provide a pipeline a name. I will say skill aids underscore PL for the pipeline. You can provide a detailed description if you want. Now, over here you can have either two or you can have multiple workspaces, more than three or more than that. Once I do that, now I have three stages or three workspaces where my code or my data will flow of the reports. For example, you created a pipeline in development, you don't have to recreate or check out and check in for the test. You can directly select it. Let us see how I can get the workspace created. But if you notice, the workspace I created for dev is not visible here. The reason behind that is I created it on purpose. If you go to the workspaces, we have dev without anything because it will not have any pipeline since it is a Power BI workspace. This prod is the fabric one and this is Power BI premium per user. Now, in order to create a pipeline, you normally need to create the workspaces in the same fabric type. Let us change that all three to the fabric trial. How to do that is once you go over here in the workspace test, okay, and then you go to the workspace setting. So here you have pro. You can edit it and change it to fabric trial and then say select. It will select the trial of fabric. Now I'll go back to that dev and then I will also change the dev workspace settings and change the capacity, the workspace type instead of Power BI Pro to Fabric. This will make sure that all the workspaces are under Fabric. One thing we need to do over here is just select this because this will assign the workspace to the pipeline. Now, after doing all the three assignment, what we can do is test our workspace. To do that, what I will do is I will create a fabric item on the dev workspace. So I go to workspace and I go to the dev workspace. Here I just created one copy data activity. I can create another pipeline if you want. So over here we can have multiple options like Cosmos DB, Event House, Lake House. Let us create a sample lake house. Over here I will give sample lake house. Then once I create it, it will create a lake house under my dev workspace. But if you see, we have this particular lake house created only on the dev workspace. Let us add some sample data. Let us add some retail data model from worldwide importer. To do that, we can just click on that, and this will create some sample data. Please note, since I have the trial workspace, it is creating or taking more time to create. Now, since I have the data ready in place, what I will do is I will just close this and go back to the pipeline. Now, if I go back to the pipeline, we have the workspace. We can just deploy it from dev to the test environment. So from dev workspace, it will create the object on the test workspace without any effort. Even though you can also create or migrate the existing data. So over here, if you see, the test copy data is created. Now you can also replicate the sample lakehouse we created. Just click the deploy over here. It should create the lakehouse over here. So this will reduce the effort of the deployment in the production. Sometimes we have multiple workspaces, one for dev, one for testing to the tester, and then one for UAT, and then lastly the production one. We can also set up in that way as seen in the previous window. Thank you.